Welcome to The Third Side with your host, John and Stacey Edwards from thirdsideparanormal.com. Hello and welcome to The Third Side. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife and co-host, Stacey.
Hello.
And today, I promise I was eventually going to say it was, today we have a terrible show, but no, I can't. We've got a great show for you.
Always a great show.
Yes, we've got a great show for you. Facebook.com/ThirdSide. That is the best way to keep up with us, but also thirdsideparanormal.com. You can get a hold of Stacey's blog. You can find out, some of the more inner workings of the Third Side crew. At 3Side Para, that's the number 3 Side Para. That's for Twitter, and we keep up with everything as much as we possibly humanly can. And like I said, Stacey's blog, and we have some other contributions that we put on there quite a bit. Also on iTunes, if you just like to listen to the audio version of the show, go there. If you are listening to the audio version of the show, slap, you need to come and watch YouTube.
Yes, so you can see our beautiful faces.
You can watch it on thirdsideparanormal.com, or you can go to YouTube and just look up Third Side Paranormal, and you will see one of the episodes from there. Look at related videos or channel videos.
Yeah, we upload other videos too, just random stuff that we do just to be silly or whatever.
Right, and it's never to be silly. It's always for the furthering.
But we're silly sometimes.
More
than sometimes.
We take serious matter and make it silly. Sometimes. Not all the time.
Not all the time.
Almost every night. Anyway, thirdsideparanormal.com, at 3sidepara, facebook.com/thirdside. We got a great paranormally, newsly, full, funnest episode.
I'm not even going to tackle that. There was like 3 or 4 that you just threw them all at me, so I couldn't pick them out.
Yeah, that's what happens, English girl.
Newsly.
All right,
I will say newsly.
Newsly.
I am not the grammar police, but sometimes you just say things that are funny.
You are the grammar Nazi.
If I say something wrong, you were the first person to jump right on top of that and point out that I've slipped up.
That's because a long time ago, when I met you, I decided that night that I was going to jump right on top of you every single time that I possibly could.
And you do.
Yes, I do.
Anyway, different show.
If I was faster, it'd have... And I'm talking about your grammar, obviously.
Of course.
And with that said, it's now time for some paranormal news.
It's hard for us here to believe what we're reporting to you, but it does seem to be a fact.
Okay, so time for some of the great newsly stuff. Newsly stuff. Isn't that what you said? Okay. So the first story is actually a story about are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. You with me?
I'm with you.
We're good, okay. It's a story about a video that we watched that was actually about 30 minutes or so. Is that your attentive?
This is it.
Okay.
I'm so into you.
I know.
All right.
Anyway, this is about that video that we watched about the former Area 51 worker, the guy that passed away in August, but they got this interview with him first. His name was Boyd Bushman.
Boyd Bushman, which was also a trending term a couple of weeks ago.
It was. And the video was actually, what was it, like 30 minutes?
When I first got on and I saw what was trending and I seen Bushman.
Did your mind go other places?
I got excited. I thought maybe the Bushmen had rose up and like Australia was under.
To be fair, lots of things excite you.
To be fair, they do.
Yes, so. Anyway. video of Boyd Bushman.
Boyd Bushman
was a former Area 51 scientist.
Indeed.
Who supposedly spilled the beans and showed pictures and talked all about what goes on there.
I know, it's pretty crazy, but let me just sidetrack.
Okay.
My mind, I can't control
That's fine. Sidetrack away.
Where do you think spilled the beans came from?
I really don't know.
And why was it like, attached to someone telling?
Spilling the beans.
Yeah.
I don't know, but this is a good time for Justin to look something up and put it on the screen.
That one kind of bothers me. Usually I can make sense of it, but spilled the beans and...
What about let the cat out of the bag?
Yeah, I know.
It's the same thing.
But you gotta think like me to know about let the cat out of the bag, because I would love to just, if you let the cat out of the bag, I'd be all pissed off about it. Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
Boyd Bushman, this is a big freaking story.
Yes.
Quit joking.
So, I know. I just get off track. I can't help it.
It's
so sorry.
It's very annoying.
So sorry.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll apologize.
It's all right. You don't have to apologize to me. You need to apologize to the people.
I just did.
The people.
I just did. Were you not paying attention?
No.
Okay. Anyway, he was. He spoke to a man named Mark Patterson, who's an aerospace engineer, about the work he did over the years, especially in Area 51. What are you laughing at now?
Aerospace. Oh, you're an aerospace engineer.
Everything goes back to Monty Python.
Grand piano. I'm going to play the grand piano. Sorry.
Anyway.
So he spoke to Mark Patterson, who was an aerospace engineer.
And he told some stories about things that he did there, showed some pictures, went really in depth with it.
It was kind of like that. Like he was...
Yeah, he was just holding the pictures up and pointing to it.
It was more like...
But he said that he actually worked on reverse engineering alien UFO technology for the military, and that he actually said that the aliens themselves work there. Yeah. That they had some, I can't remember how many. He said it wasn't a whole lot. It was in the teens or something like that.
Right.
And
which is a gaggle more than we knew they had, right? I mean,
what is a group of aliens? It's like gaggle of aliens.
I don't know.
An ensemble of aliens.
Ensemble's pretty cool.
I like that one.
I was trying to think of something about anal because of the exams and
an anal of aliens.
An anal of aliens.
I think we're off topic again. Anyway.
Remember me?
Anyway, he went in the video. He did say that most of the aliens that he encountered at Area 51 were quite friendly, but there were some. There were some that weren't.
Right.
And he didn't he say? Correct me if I'm wrong. I know that you will. But didn't he say that there had been something that happened recently where people were killed, where some of the military guys were killed because they were fired on by unfriendly aliens?
Yeah, but...
And we talked about maybe that was... They always use a different excuse for stuff like that.
Well, I've heard a lot of those stories over the years. I mean, obviously, I'm like neck deep in ufology, so there's a few stories, few people that have come, over the years, and they have...
I wasn't going to touch that one.
Yeah, well... It got off to a bad start.
I know. I know. It's just going downhill. This is the first story, people. The first story.
It got off to a bad start. I'm gonna try to reel it back in. The few people have come out over the years,
right?
And with stories such as the one guy with the underground, and he was a contractor, and there was some bad stuff happening. There's been other stories, but what you're saying is like friendly fire incidents are actually like cover-ups.
Right, for what really happened.
Right,
like, this was a training exercise, and these guys were accidentally killed.
Exactly. Funny thing, a Green Beret that I knew back in the day told me that anytime I heard about a friendly fire incident or any kind of anything like that, that normally it was like a black operation that had, maybe went awry.
Right.
Something like that, and I've heard a lot more, more recently that I can't talk about because those people are still like alive and could kill me. So,
just a curious question, a little off topic again, but when people say back in the day, is that a specified amount of time?
Well, for me it is. Back in the day for me is pre-you.
Oh, I see. Before us. So that's quite some time ago.
That's a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like a determined amount of time.
Well, no,
like
that gets me off the hook.
If you can't, you have to use that term if it's like 20 years or more or something.
It's
you
like,
can't say.
I knew that girl back in the day.
I see how that works. Okay.
Yeah, that way it's
That just means before.
Before.
I got you.
Yes, it's
Okay.
like BS before Stacey.
Anyway, you can't throw stuff in on me like that.
I'll try not to throw any more BS at you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I don't think anybody would ever believe our show's not scripted.
I know.
Anyway. So anyway, the video is really
Except
great.
for all the anyways that you say.
I know.
Because nobody's going to freaking write that.
It's because
It's like,
you pull me off topic.
Anyway, so, all right.
The video is really cool.
Anyway.
You should watch it. It is 30 minutes long, but it's very interesting, and it is interesting to watch. And he actually does
It's kind of interesting.
It's kind of interesting.
Like,
it does drag on.
I was at the first of it. I was like, "Holy God, he's talking about aliens!" And then, like 10 minutes in, I'm kind of like, "It's just pretty cool. He's still talking about aliens." 25 minutes in, I'm like, "Die already, old man! You've gave your secrets. Die!"
Hey, he is dead.
He is dead.
Yes, he died in August.
He's not my cousin or anything.
Okay,
I mean, if he's your
anyway.
cousin, I'm sorry. I am.
If you had to turn the volume down on whatever you're listening to because John just screamed like that,
well, I mean,
I
come on.
apologize.
It was pretty cool the first time he shows it, you know?
Yeah.
But
I like the end when he's pulling out the big foldy boards. He's like, and it's like
I
all
was
these
like,
newspaper
seriously,
articles.
because I had to watch it because of what we do. I was like, dear God, please, no more information.
Okay, you're making the dog bark now.
The dog.
The
Yes.
guard dog is barking because of you.
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. It was a good video.
Okay, anyway.
For 5 freaking minutes.
Or 10.
Okay.
I just told people to watch it, and now you told them.
Well, you should watch it.
Watch the first few minutes.
Watch the first few
You'll get the
minutes.
gist.
You're like, holy God, and then you turn it off.
Okay, anyway. Sorry, Dax. Anyway.
Dax is our guard dog at the studio.
Yes, there's a picture of him on the website.
Yeah, it's okay that you hear him every now and then. Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's protecting us.
Yes, there could be someone breaking in or a very loud bald man
Screaming.
screaming.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next story.
Anyway.
This is a story from India, from New Delhi. Mm-hmm. Interesting story. It's kind of a ghost story.
Love India.
This is just a story that I found. I'm pretty sure this was from the Washington Post. I don't actually have that part down here. But it's about a courthouse where they're actually investigating reports of unusual ghostly things happening. Yes. Have you seen this story?
No, I kind of guessed when you said they're investigating strange.
So it says that over the past year, some unusual events have occurred at the courthouse. Books have been disappearing, strange noises, and then the computers and stuff have been switching on by themselves at night after they've been shut down. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
And so they got this closed circuit television system because honestly, at first they thought that people were just stealing stuff.
A lot of that could be natural, or explainable.
Well, right. So they put, there's footage on there, that on the article, there's like the video of one of the cameras pointing down at a computer area where there's a bunch of computers. All the computers are off. It's nighttime.
Try to figure there's a bunch of computers there. Sorry, you said it was a computer area.
Okay, anyway.
Sorry.
And in the video, the computers one at a time turn on.
Oh, that's cool.
Without anybody in there. And so it is a little bit, I mean, it is just a security system. It's a little bit grainy, but you can see that nobody turns them on and they come on. So is that good evidence? Is that not good evidence? I don't know. Not really, I don't think.
If I can recreate it.
Yeah, one guy actually said it was just like a virus. Computer virus.
I get mad at people for saying that, you know, if you can make it, if you can do this yourself, well, hell, you can make anything yourself anymore.
Right.
But we have been on investigations at college campuses, in computer labs,
right,
where they have turned on and off, in business offices. Like a year ago, we were in some business offices.
That's right, and the computers came on.
The computers would turn on and off.
And that is something that happens, especially when you have a bunch of them on a network. And the only other thing that showed on the video was one thing that makes it hard to see things is it's very dusty there. I think right outside the room, it's an open air corridor, it said, and that there is tons and tons of just dust and dirt in there.
Really?
Like it's just
That sounds
piled up.
disgusting.
Yeah. So some people are excited that they have the cameras. They're hoping that maybe, because there's a lot of people that really believe that it's haunted, and they're excited that the cameras are there.
Freaking India. India is just haunted in general, and it's the coolest people in the world.
Right.
Like, I love India, and they're fun, you know, and everything about them, and their culture, and all their beliefs, and going
Right.
back. I mean, the men from the sky and the
Well,
stupids.
this article was actually really
Stupids.
stupids. He loves that word.
God, I love stupids.
This article is actually really interesting because they do talk to some people and they do discuss how. I think one of the people in the article actually said that it was the country was kind of like a 21st century country, but with a 16th century mindset, because they still believe in all that stuff. And it actually said in there that there are still tribal villages where people use faith healers instead of going
Right.
to real doctors,
And you know what?
and they still accuse women of being witches and kill them and things like that. I mean,
women are still witches. You shouldn't kill them, but
right. But I mean, they do it for weird, like because the crops
Right.
failed or because somebody's infertile,
But I
Old
don't
stuff.
think they're behind. I think they're ahead of us.
Right.
And I think that, everybody got all pretentious somewhere around 100 years ago when they made a damn light bulb, and they're like, oh, we don't need this anymore. We don't need everything.
We don't need shamans.
Right.
and
We don't need
things.
everything we believed in for thousands of years.
Right.
I won't
Right.
drop an F-bomb, but for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, things never changed. Okay?
Right.
You went to the lady in the village, you went to the shaman, you got healed. There was nothing wrong with it, nothing black or dark about it. That's just the way it was.
Right,
And
right.
you believed in, certain things and certain creatures. Well, the funny thing is, it's still the creatures that pop up today. And people are like, oh my God, I don't know what that is. Well, it's the same thing that was there. It's just we had more information about it back then. I'm just saying that people have pretty much turned their back on
The old ways.
The old ways, things that we knew were real.
Right.
We coexisted with this.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of places there that still, they believe that, and that's how they
Right.
live. And I think it even said that right down from the courthouse, there's actually a billboard advertising spells and cures and
Right.
that sort of thing, because it's just the way of life there,
it.
and that's just the belief.
I'm moving to India.
India.
I love it. They've got everything.
Let's visit first.
They've got deadliest roads. They've got curry. I mean, they've
You
got.
have to drive on those deadliest roads.
Yeah, they've got Bollywood.
I don't think I want to do that.
I mean, you would love Bollywood.
Maybe. But, and one other thing it mentioned in the article was that something else that happened was an Indian rationalist who advocated a law. I don't know, that's what it was called.
I want to be a rationalist.
He advocated a law against black magic. Like he wanted to pass a law, I guess, outlawing black magic. He was killed. Somebody gunned him down. They were like, no, we're not having that.
I'm surprised somebody had to gun him down. I wouldn't even utter the words to
Yeah.
this day, even here in this country. Go ask somebody from Nolans. Go ask somebody from, down there, if the black magic is real,
Yeah.
And it's easier. The scary thing is black magic is easier to obtain than trying to get a spell for a good reason, I think that they're just, I
Well,
think
it's because of the cost,
right.
what you have to trade.
Yeah, exactly.
For it.
Exactly.
Yes, and a lot of people, it amazes me. There are a lot of people that don't believe in magic at all, but it's real. I mean, it's just it's hard. I don't know how else to say it. All that stuff that you hear that you don't think is real. I mean, that stuff's all real, and nature spirits and
Yeah.
elementals and
Exactly.
all that, all the good stuff and all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So, an interesting story anyway. I'll be curious to see if they actually catch anything. I don't know if the courthouse is actually haunted. There are people that, they do have claims like any other place. But I'll be curious to see if they catch anything on their cameras besides dust. Amazing amounts of dust. I think it actually said that big piles were like in the stairwells and stuff. Like, I don't guess anybody cleans in there.
really crazy.
I guess it's hard in India, though. If you have open air corridors, it's probably really hard to keep that dust out of there.
Exactly.
So.
Hey, you know what? This is kind of like a complete huge sidetrack, and it's not. We're not doing.
That's okay. I'm done with that story.
We're not doing like the TV segment per se.
Okay.
Okay. But I've got to pull this out.
Okay.
Ghost Stalkers. This has
Right.
been weeks ago. Not the most recent episode.
Okay.
Not even the penultimate most recent episode. But 3 weeks ago. And I just have to throw that out there. If you watch Ghost Stalkers on Discovery America channel,
Right.
with John Tenney,
It's Destination America.
Destination America.
Yeah.
It's owned by like the Discovery Channel.
think so.
That's
Yeah.
I get that
Anyway.
confused. Destination America Channel. Ghost Stalkers. We've talked about it before. They had one of the single best pieces of evidence I've ever seen captured on
It was
paranormal
episode
television.
3, right?
Episode 3. It was a full body apparition. It was way down a hall. It was going across the hall. It was one of the best.
It's pretty cool.
One of the best pieces of single video evidence that I've ever seen. The original Ghost Adventures documentary.
Yeah.
That was a
That was
great
pretty
full
cool.
body apparition, 2007. It was great. The shadow thing for Taps in the lighthouse in Florida.
Yes, that peeked over.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
St. Augustine. That
was awesome.
peeked over the thing. That was great. Now, I've seen stuff that we've captured. That was fantastic.
Right.
The Cinema 7 with the apparition walking all the way down the theater hall. That was
pretty cool.
freaking great, you know? We've had some really good evidence. This thing that John Tenney captured, and Chad, and, I apologize.
I don't remember which one was in there when it was captured. I don't remember.
Chad was in there.
Was
Tenney
Chad
was
in there?
watching. He was the one that
That's
actually
right.
seen it, which is almost, hey, bravo. If anybody who's ever sit and watched the DVR for like 8 hours, God bless you for catching anything,
And one thing I will mention about that show, and I've not shared it, I should probably share it, but John Tenney on his blog actually goes back afterwards and lists everything you didn't see in the show.
Yeah.
All the behind the scenes stuff, all the little things. And actually that thing with, I'm not sure if he actually saw that when it happened. I think he put in his blog that he didn't actually, even though it looked like on the show, the way they edited it, I don't think that he saw it in real time. I think it was pointed out to him later.
Tenney's awesome because he tells the truth about it. I mean,
he just wants to
comes
get
out.
front.
He actually puts on there about how they use the bathroom when they're locked down and stuff. And
Yeah.
I've talked about it quite a few times. And just so everybody knows, the episode coming up will feature John Tenney, the interview.
Oh yeah, we have one coming up. I don't know exactly which episode that is.
Yeah.
It's coming up soon.
And we'll talk to him about all that stuff.
Right.
The other thing I was going to talk about, on the other end of the spectrum, really, this has been, about 3 weeks ago now, but the Ghost Adventures Halloween.
Oh yeah, that was great.
The Halloween Ghost Adventures in Ireland. Okay. The India thing, we were talking about moving to India, whatever, that's a joke. Let me tell you where you're really going to find us, okay?
Ireland.
Ireland.
Yes.
We've wanted to go there for years.
Yes.
But there's a lot of reasons for that. And, but we love the mythology, the lore, the Celtic, just everything about Ireland we love. And so we were watching this, and they went to some pretty popular places there, Lep Castle and what have you. Man, that was...
It was really, it was 2 hours, but it was like packed full of just...
It just went quick.
Yeah, there was like no lag time.
I'll tell you what, you screw around with elementals, and you get some good shows.
Good stuff.
And you might be screwed up for the next 20 years, but continue, dear.
That's okay. That was the end of that story. I was going to move on to something new. This is kind of a funny story. Funny, I don't know. It's
funny, funny, ha.
Funny, like I don't think that it's
Legit.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. This is about. It's a story from Macedonia.
I didn't know Pan was there.
Yeah, hi Pan. Yeah, he's
Sorry.
there. It's okay. Stuff around here moves around a lot.
It does.
I don't know how. It's like every time we come here, there's something different, and it's moved, and I don't know who does that. It's very strange.
It is strange.
Anyway, this is a story from Macedonia. You may have seen this shared. It's about a farmer who found a chained box while he was plowing his field that contained a werewolf skull. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a second. Okay, anyway, so I read this video and I looked at the pictures, and supposedly what happened was this farmer named, I don't know how to say his name. It looks like Treci. I don't know exactly how to say his name, but he lives in Macedonia. He was digging up a new part of his field when his plow hit an object, and it was a box, and the box had chains around it, right? So, of course, the first thing he did was open it.
Right.
Because he must not know about the Dybbuk box, apparently.
Right. Don't open the box!
Yeah. Exactly.
Seriously.
So he opened the box, and he supposedly found a strange skull in it that looked like it was a werewolf skull, and then there was some words written on the inside of the box.
Okay. I'm trying to let you get through this one.
Okay, hold on. So the inside of the lid had some lettering
I hope
that was
to God
like
it said this is werewolf.
Bulgarian, and I think in the article it didn't have the translation, but down under the comments people had translated it, had said they put it in and translated it in Bulgarian, and supposedly it said, "Attention, danger, werewolf, and werewolf was underlined. Now, just want to say why they wrote that inside the box instead of outside the box.
Yeah.
Seems a little pointless, because by the time you've opened the box,
You're like,
oh, well, that would have been nice information to have
Yeah.
before I opened it.
Exactly.
But anyway, so the skull was it looked weird.
I just wonder why they were jumping to werewolf. Like,
Well, it does look like kind of like a wolf skull or a dog skull, but I think some pictures of it
I
were
think I would
shown.
jump like Coyote. You know?
Well, also it said werewolf on the box, obviously, and it was chained shut. It was very weird.
Their wolf.
Yeah.
Their castle.
So they showed it to a wildlife expert in Bulgaria who speculated that it was from a wolf,
Sorry.
that it was indeed from a wolf, but not necessarily werewolf, but that maybe the wolf was suffering from some kind of disease, Paget's disease, which is a genetic disorder
Where they
that can
randomly turn into
cause...
humans?
No, it can cause misshapen bones and enlarged skulls. And it said it can be called by the canine distemper virus, which is common in wolves. So that's what this expert said. Now, if you look at the pictures, there's a few things that are
like
strange.
An awesome movie.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things that are strange about the pictures. Number one, the box looked like it was in pretty good shape. So if it was something that had been buried for a long period of
What
time.
if it had some mojo on it?
Well, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. It didn't look like something that had been buried for a long period of time. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying what the picture looked like. I mean, you can't tell a lot from pictures, granted. The skull was very odd. There was only the one picture, but the eye sockets weren't hollow. And aren't eye sockets on skulls always hollow? I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just was like divots where the eyes
They're
are.
not always hollow.
They're not always hollow?
No.
Okay, well, it was weird looking anyway. And then you couldn't tell where the mouth hinge opened. But again, I'm not an expert on skulls. I'm just saying what it looked like when I first looked at it. And it was just weird.
I don't know, dude. That's
weird.
A crazy story. It's cool in a way that I love the fact that, except for the fact that they wrote it on the inside of the box.
Yeah, it was weird. So there's a lot of suspect things about it, but then again, if you're not there in person holding it and turning it and looking at it and studying it, how can you really say for sure?
What would you do?
It's just a picture.
What would you do if
I wouldn't have opened the box that was chained shut.
I wouldn't have opened it either.
I'm just
See,
saying.
that's why we survived to the next movie.
No, I would have just been like, oh, look, this box is chained shut. I'm going to x-ray it or something,
exactly. Exactly.
I mean, unless he thought there was like treasure in it. Yeah, you get the little helper, the worker helper dude, the guy in the blue shirt that you don't need.
Hey, dude, hey, look, we found this, dude, and we walk away.
Yeah.
And then he opens it, and
then we see if he dies.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's like
Wait a while.
King Tut's tomb. You send somebody else in first, just in case there's
don't
baby
invite him
traps.
over for Game of Thrones for a couple of weeks, and,
But supposedly,
we'll tape it, man.
This story was actually told to a student who was in the village doing research on the Balkan Wars.
Named Andy Van Helsing?
No, his name was Philippe Ganov. I don't know, but he wouldn't let the guy take the skull, but he did take the pictures, and then he, I guess, told the story or whatever. And
it's great. It's awesome. I want to see the movie.
Interesting, but like I said, there are a lot of questions still.
Well, yeah.
Because, like I said, it's just the one picture. So it was weird. It was weird.
Should have took a battery of pictures.
Yes, all angles, up close, everything.
Posing with the wolf and
and I couldn't tell. I mean, I'm not an expert on skulls, obviously, but I couldn't tell right off that it was a wolf skull. I mean, it could have been. I mean, it looked a little bit baboonish, sort of. You know how they have like the long with the teeth. I don't know. It was weird.
I would rather have dug up a baboon skull.
It was an interesting story, though. It's just definitely not something that you see every day.
No, you don't.
Every day.
But leave it to Bulgaria. Kudos, Bulgaria.
Okay, so I have two stories here that I want to go talk about.
I like the name Macedonia, too. Isn't that cool? That's a nice name.
Good woody name.
I like to be able to say, where are you from? I hail from Macedonia. That's awesome.
I guess.
It sounds like a cookie.
I don't know anything about Macedonia, so I don't know if I'd like to hail from Macedonia.
It's like Macedonia nuts,
That's macadamia.
I know. I'm just saying there's a correlation. God, aren't you the older chick on the bus that's laughing? It's not very funny.
Okay, I don't know what to do with that.
I don't either.
Anyway.
Okay. Sorry.
terrible segue.
Flashback.
Okay, anyway. So I've got 2 stories here, and both of these stories come from paper and, what were you going to do with
Nothing.
the owl?
I don't usually get busted. Go ahead.
Come from the Metro, which is a tabloid paper in the UK. And I love tabloids. I just want to say, I really do like them. Yes, a lot of the times the stories are crap, but sometimes you never know.
The written tabloids, like
Yes.
Weekly World News and stuff, we have actually got stuff from them before.
Yeah.
That had a little bit of legitimacy to it. And
But you never know. I mean, it could just be someone totally crazy, but then again, maybe they just sound crazy, but they're telling the truth.
yeah, like someone getting a hold of them saying, demons,
Yeah,
blah,
because
blah, blah.
a real newspaper wouldn't
They
print
wouldn't
that
touch
stuff.
it. I love them. I can't even find it anymore.
It's like in the movie Men in Black, where he's looking through the
Yeah.
paper. He's like, "This is where the real news
This
is.
is where the real
That's
news
where
is."
the real news
Yeah,
is."
exactly.
So both of these stories come from this tabloid, which we don't have any good tabloids anymore.
No, we don't.
Somebody needs to start a new tabloid paper.
We should work on that.
Yeah, I loved Weekly World News. We need to find somewhere that sells it. Do they even still make it?
I look for it every time I'm in anywhere that sells.
Yeah, but I
groceries.
think it's where we live.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You think?
Yeah,
Third notch.
because we don't live in a big city.
Yeah.
We actually, did you know that where we live right now, the city we live in, actually has a population of like 1,000 people?
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. No,
Yeah,
I didn't.
and
know
an
that.
elevation of 3,000
3,000,
feet.
yeah.
So it snows a lot of time, and there's not that many people
Snows in
around.
July.
It's
yeah.
a small town.
It really
Anyway,
does. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so the first
So
one,
they have a church there for everybody that lives there.
yeah, pretty much. It's pretty bad.
Because there's like 45 churches.
I know, in that little bitty town, churches and banks. I don't
That's
get
really
it.
weird, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Now you got me really screwed up in the head thinking about that.
Sorry. Anyway, so this first one from the Metro is a story that actually I think you shared with me about the priest that performed the exorcism in the home because the little boy said he was taking a bath with a ghost.
That wasn't me, but okay.
Oh, was that not you?
No.
I thought that was you.
Never heard of that story.
Oh, maybe it was
Go ahead.
Justin. Okay. Anyway, somebody
was Justin.
shared. Was it Justin? Okay.
Yeah, that's got Justin's hands all over it. Are you kidding? Priest, little boy, bath. I mean, that's...
What are you trying to say, John?
No, I'm just... nothing bad. I'm just trying to say that's what he would find humor in that.
Anyway,
Our producer is a one-of-a-kind person.
Yes. He finds humor in
He's
lots of
probably the
things.
most electrifying soul that I've met ever. I love him to death. So...
Okay, so anyway, so there's this family that lived in this house, and she actually, her son is, it doesn't say how old he is. He's very small. He's probably 4 or 5.
Okay.
It doesn't say. I saw the pictures of him, though. He's very tiny. And they had to get out of their house and bring a priest in to perform an exorcism on their house because they were having all this activity. And one of the things that happened, it's centered around their little boy. And he's done those things, those scary things that your kids do, like screaming in the middle of the night uncontrollably, the things that scare you to death. And then he was in the bathtub one time, and she could hear him. She had stepped out of the bathroom, and he was in there talking and saying, "No, those are my toys," and things like that. And when she went back in there, he was all scrunched up on one end of the tub and told her that there was a little boy with black hair in the tub with him. And, was totally messed up about, obviously.
I'd burn the house down.
Messed up about it.
I would burn the house down, spank the kid, and get the hell out of
Why would you
Dodge.
spank the kid?
Well, I mean, just to cover all my bases. I mean, if he's lying,
And
I wouldn't actually spank the
they
kid.
wake up at night to
I've
hear...
never spanked a child. I
Listen,
spanked Stacey, but I've never
that is totally not relevant right now.
Well, I mean, they kind of needed to know that there is spanking involved, but you're a bad girl sometimes.
Anyway,
You're being a bad girl right now.
am I?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, let's just continue. So they woke up in the middle of the night by strange knocking. Terrible, terrible person. And one time the TV got turned on in the middle of the night, full blast, while they were sleeping, which, by the way, would scare the crap out of me if that happened.
Yeah.
They said they had been watching it the night before, kind of quietly, and then in the middle of the night it just turned on, full blast, and, they were like looking, because,
Right.
you're disoriented, and they're trying to find the remote, and it was way over on the floor, and
I like how you show disoriented.
there's like
Because I see you like waking up, like, oh, no.
that
all
is
those
me
voices
waking
that
up all
come out of you.
disoriented. I'm
Yeah.
not as disoriented as you are in the mornings when you wake up.
It's because I'm drugged.
You were like
Like,
totally
I
out of
don't
it.
remember. They have to give me stuff to keep me from killing people.
And they would leave and come back and find things had been moved in their house and things like that.
Right.
So they did have a priest come in and perform an exorcism, and I think that it has worked a bit. so that they're still in the same house.
Wait. It's worked a bit.
Well, I mean, it's calmed down.
I thought it was like either here, I mean, all the way or not.
No, I don't think so. Remember, we talked about that story about Zach Baggins last week. And
so, I mean, but I thought exorcisms
work.
either worked or they didn't. Like, I got a little bit of the devil left.
I think,
Just my left hand.
we've watched documentaries and stuff where priests have had to do over and over. Like, you don't just go in one time and bam, it's over.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, they have to do it over and over.
They have to do it over and over.
Okay. So you can have a little devil left.
But I think that the priest, I don't have this part here, but I think the priest said something about how people bring him in a lot to bless the house. And that's what he did. He blessed the house. And, hopefully that's going to,
quell it.
Yeah, because of the kid. That's what you have to worry about, because the little boy is obviously being traumatized.
Anytime there's a child involved, it's serious. And you have to get it finished quick.
And this is a young couple. It's like her and her son and her boyfriend, and they're young, so they probably can't just up and move somewhere else.
No, the hell with that.
Yeah.
No, I would burn the house down and we would go. I'm sorry. If that crap happens, the first time I have a kid look at me and go, there's a little black-headed boy in the tub. Well, come on, Junior.
Maybe he just wanted to
get your teddy bear. Let Daddy pour gasoline on everything, and let's burn it and get the hell out of there. I'm sorry, no.
Does it work, in your opinion, if you burn a place down? Does that get rid of the evil spirits, or do they stay connected to the land?
Well,
and anything else that's
I
built
would
there?
have said that it gets rid of it once you get rid of the physical, the physical place. But I firsthand, with you beside me, went to in Johnson City, Tennessee. There was this mansion, and it was
so sad.
It was the Swingle
Hospital.
We got special permission from a Swingle, and last name, and went to the grounds after the building had been demolished.
It was the most beautiful building you've ever seen.
Stacey loved it more than anything.
It was like a huge mansion.
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous.
I mean, it was creepy gorgeous.
It was creepy.
It was Wednesday Addams
and
gorgeous.
I think it still had all the hospital stuff in it. Like, they didn't let people in.
Yeah,
they never let people in.
We had been around it, and everything before that. But after they demolished this thing, I have EVPs of people still on that plane of existence.
Right.
Like there's a physical building there.
And now there was still rubble.
Yes.
And we were walking around the rubble. So in that instance, were they attached to the rubble, do you think?
I mean, no. I
mean, it's a question.
I don't think they're attached to this,
Right.
I
think it's just the area,
I think
the land.
Area. I really do think the area. Can you attach to an item? It seems that way. It seems that way because you go to an antique store. We've done antique stores. And,
well, yeah, you can be attached to an item.
It's just
you can be.
I mean, they're all over the place.
Well, here's another question for you. Since we're throwing questions out there about this, could it be a possibility where the spirits are constructing that the building's still there?
Yes, that's what, firmly I believe that we all have a construct. Our consciousness, when we go on, we create whatever we're used to. That's why sometimes, they'll be like, I saw half the ghost going up the stairs, and they had lowered the stairs, or they had done some kind of construction.
Raised them or something.
And, their construct of it.
That's why they walk through walls sometimes, because there used to be a walk through
Exactly.
there.
Even though there may be two ghosts there, one died in 1970, one died in 1930, I firmly believe that to the 1930 one, that's what they see.
Right.
That was their construct of that place. And can communication still occur between the two? Yeah, I think so. But the problem is, I think they see it completely differently. And
so in the instance where a building's torn down or burned, perhaps they still see a building because that's what they're used to. I mean, that's why we do this, because you don't know. I mean, it's all theories. Everybody has a theory, but I think that's a good one.
Oh, well, thank you.
Anyway. So hopefully this exorcism worked for this family.
Sorry, little boy.
Yes, I don't know. So another story that I got from the Metro that I thought was really interesting and sounds like something that would happen to us is this lady, Michelle Midwinter. She bought a house. She's so happy. And she's a little girl, and she's excited. And she goes outside to take pictures to show her friends. I know. Midwinter. That's cool. She wants to show all her friends on Facebook her new house or whatever. So she goes outside, she takes pictures, and when she's putting them on Facebook, she puts the picture up there and sees a ghost looking out the window. So now she thinks that her house is haunted because she saw the face looking back out the window from the pictures that she
In
took.
your opinion, did it look like a ghost?
I just saw the one picture. And if the picture is genuine, then yes, it did. I mean, it was a ghostly figure looking out the window.
So it wasn't matrixing or anything?
I don't think so.
Wasn't like a lampshade opening the curtain?
I don't think so. But again, it was just the one picture, so I can't say for
It's
sure.
really hard with windows.
I didn't really study it
it's so hard
that
with
close
windows.
up. And there's nothing saying that this is a legitimate picture either.
Was there pictures after that and before that?
No, it was
without
just the
ghost?
one picture.
See, I hate
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it was just the one
I hate
picture.
that. Show us the picture without the ghost. Show us
Right.
the picture without the ghost. Okay.
And show us a picture of what's on the other side of the window.
Exactly.
On the inside.
I mean, that's what takes it away from being actually proper ghost to me, because you know, when we've had activity,
Right.
we have freaking analytically tore it apart and shown every angle we can, and you know,
And
just
there's so many things that you have to throw out just because there's too many questions. You can say that's weird, but you can't give it to somebody and say, "Look, I caught this at this
because I don't want
paranormal."
to whip a
But
skeptic's ass. I
Right.
think that should be that
Right.
that whole part of I should have a shirt being like, I do this because I don't want to have to whip a skeptic's ass. Because you know, if I say that I saw something, then I saw something. I'm not going to. There's been enough documented, and you know, it's just like we talked about that douchebag guy
Right.
like weeks ago. There's been enough documented, and enough times John said, and yes, I'm speaking in the third person, but enough times John has said, "Hey, I just heard that say fire truck," and everybody's like, "Yeah, it said fire truck," and then we get the recorder, and it said
fire truck.
fire truck.
yes,
And-
that's creepy when you do that. By the way, just want to say
Well, I mean, it's just what I'm hearing.
it's just the recording, and you're like, somebody just said yes, and then we'll listen back, and it'll be like, so you'll hear yes, and you're like, somebody just said yes. Yeah, well, they did.
Yeah.
We just didn't hear it at the time. So anyway,
It's not cool. I mean, on this end either.
I'm sure it's weird.
It gets used to it.
So anyway, after she took the picture, you know, she knew nobody else was in the house, just her and her daughter, and it obviously wasn't her daughter because it looked like an older
It
woman
could
or
be
whatever.
worse. I could see stuff.
That's true.
That would,
You do sometimes,
sometimes, but not like a good friend of mine.
right?
That would be, to me, I would rather hear it.
So after she took this picture, then she said that some bizarre goings on, is that a word? Bizarre goings on in the house, has convinced
Yeah, I
her
think it
that it is haunted. But here's my question about that. If she didn't notice these things going on before she took the picture, are these things that are happening really supernatural, or is she just amped up now? Like I think she mentioned one of the clock falling off the wall. Well, the clock could have just fell off the wall.
I mean, this sounds cut and dry, like, you
Right.
know.
Well, here's something that I thought was really funny about the story is she talked to a local historian. His name is Andrew Jones. What a generic name, by the way.
Very is
Andrew
generic.
Jones.
That's like what we use at the hotel.
And they gave his age, like that matters. Andrew
And-
Jones, 50. Oh, I don't know why it matters that he's 50, why they felt they needed to put that
Well,
in
I
there.
mean, you hit the 50 mark, that's more believable.
Is it?
Yeah,
You're more
yeah.
believable when you're 50?
Yeah, I think so.
And then how old do you have to be before you start getting crazy again?
70.
Okay. So between 50 and 75, you are
75.
golden.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
I think that's a good. I think between 50 and 75 is your most distinguished period.
Okay, so
People take your stories and they're like, "Oh, that guy's telling the truth."
so he looks at this picture that she shows him, and he is in this position where he could be comforting, where he could be helpful, where he could say, well,
Sound
maybe
like a
that's
porn.
this. Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying, out of everything he could have told her, what he tells her is that the photo bears a striking resemblance to Samuel Kent. So I guess it was a man in the window. I thought it was a woman. I don't remember. The father of infamous murderer Constance Kent, who killed her 3-year-old brother when she was 16. And he said from looking at the photograph, it looked like Samuel Kent, who lived in the area. He worked as a factory inspector in the area.
Didn't
and
live in that house.
It didn't say. It said he lived in the area. Yeah, just in the area. And he's not a murderer. He's the father of someone who killed a murderer. And he says that he looks at the picture, and I guess he tells her, oh, that looks a lot like this guy who was the father of this murderer. And he did live in this area, so it could be him.
Well, I mean, who doesn't have a murderer in their family?
But that's
at some point.
How is that something
Maybe
he
that's
should?
not common.
How is that something he should have told this woman who's terrified that her house is haunted?
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's horrible.
That's terrible. Horrible.
Even if you thought that,
Yeah.
you should not say,
I've
"Oh,
been like, oh, that
just-
looks like, it looks like nobody.
looks like a lamp."
Yeah. No,
Is there a lamp in that window?
It's your grandma. It's your
She's
grandma.
just looking over you.
She misses you. She only comes around
So
during
I thought that was
times.
a great part of the story.
Yes, that is a good part of the story. Thank you.
Okay, so anyway, yay for tabloid journalism. Love tabloids. Okay, so I'm going to give you one more story here, one more news story. And this I thought was pretty interesting. Doing weird things with your hands again. I don't remember where this story came from, what source, but I saw it online today, so I went ahead and added it in. There's a man, his name is Chris Ledbetter, okay? And he took a picture, he took a picture of his grandfather.
Did you just belch?
I burped just slightly. It was very small. It was not a belch. A belch is with your mouth open going, bleh.
It was going to pass by, but you have to know this girl. This girl, I've known you for 20 years, and I've not ever heard her fart. Like, I've never heard her.
Really? This is what we bring up during the show?
Well, I'm just saying, hey, these are.
Oh my God, you're just knocking stuff off the table.
Our viewers and our listeners.
You think they care?
I think they know us. I think that we bring them into our lives, on purpose. Mm-hmm. And we love them, and we usually connect with most of the people that watch the show in some shape, form, or fashion.
Right.
So I think it's good that they know that you're not, a big flatulent.
I'm not.
Flapper.
I just don't do it in front of people. I'm discreet. Unlike some other people I'll mention that just let it rip wherever they want to.
I'll have you know I hold those in all day. And then it just happens that you're in the area when it...
Yes, unless we go out to eat and then have to go directly to the store afterwards. And then he tries to do it around sales associates and then leave so that other sales associates
and
think
then I
that
bring
they
the
did it.
girls over and I'll be like, watch. And the one sales associate will look at the other one and be like, it's great. It's great. It's the little
How
things.
to have fun when you're out
People,
shopping.
it's the little things. But, for her to belch right there, that's like finding a 4-leaf clover. It
wasn't loud. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I was like, and I said, "Excuse
seriously.
me."
Yeah, it sounded like a demon clearing his throat.
Oh, it did not.
Yeah.
It might have with this microphone.
It could have.
Oh, but hear me. Okay.
Continue.
Anyway,
Sorry.
So this man, Chris
That
Ledbetter,
never happened.
his grandfather was ill, and he was in the hospital, and they thought that he just had a few days to live. And his grandfather's name is Bob Large. And he has an ongoing illness, and they said that he was terminal and that people should come and visit him in the hospital. And so they had a vicar there praying over him. Yeah, I just said vicar, and you automatically Monty Python.
I automatically think of the skating vicar.
Anyway, so the vicar's praying over him, and the grandson, Chris, took a photograph of while this was happening. I guess he's, posterity.
Seeing the spirit coming out of the body.
No. They noticed a ghostly figure in the background of the thing.
Of course.
A small girl with long hair. And so when he first saw it, he was really freaked out. And and he showed it to everyone in the family. They were all shocked. They couldn't explain it. So he showed it to the hospital staff members, and they were just like, oh, yeah, we see her a lot of times. She stands at the end of the beds of some of the patients, and it's supposedly she has long blonde hair. She wears a white gown. She's just a girl. Well, after this happened, his grandfather made a recovery. He's out of the hospital now. Like, he was at death's door, and all of a sudden he started feeling better.
It's not death.
No, he started feeling better.
She takes mercy and pity.
He said that he's actually made a miraculous recovery. He actually is out of the hospital. And
oh, damn, if I get sick, I'm gonna take some candies in my pocket.
Yeah. Well, he said that his grandmother told the ward manager that she needed to speak to him, after this happened. And she wanted to speak to him about something. And when she said she had a picture of a ghost, he said, oh, and he described it to her, what she got in the picture, and not the other way around. So this is something that they've heard of.
Wow.
So it's not the first time the ghost had been seen. One patient was screaming one night because he saw her at the end of his bed. If only he had known. She was probably there to help. But the hospital building dates back to 18...
Wouldn't that suck? Like, it's the ghost that helps you and brings you back.
And you're like, go away, go away.
And you're like, go away.
But this hospital building was actually built in 1829, and it was formerly known as the County Lunatic Asylum. And they supposedly have a number of poltergeist and ghost-related incidences in, sightings and things like that. It's an old building. It used to be a lunatic asylum. Yeah, now it's a hospital. Of course they have activity. I mean, that's just like...
They were so mean
That's
back
like
in
your
the day.
recipe.
They were just so mean back in the day with people with mental illness. It was the Peaceful Valley home of batshit crazy people.
Well, wasn't it the episode of Ghost Hunters, the 200th episode, where they went to the lunatic asylum and they were listing out the reasons you could be put in the asylum, and it was silly things. I mean, like laziness and
I can't stand people. I can't stand places that lock people up and for mental illness, and it's just, to me, there's been so much bad, and I know there's people in the field that want to do good and want to help people, but I just can't stand to listen to the stories of lobotomies and some of the things that people, like you said, they weren't necessarily stuff we understand more today.
Right. Well, like if you
like a child
couldn't control your child just because they were being kids or something.
Something like that, and they just would throw these people away and forget about them, because it was much easier to lock them away for the rest of their lives. And then you have these people that probably were the ones that really needed the treatment, were the ones watching them
or performing the lobotomies.
And it's just I can't stomach the stories.
I know, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
It is terrible. Thankfully, it's better.
It's getting better.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
You hope anyway.
Right. Because you do still hear stories of bad treatment and things like that. But this hospital building, they actually have a legend of a mysterious woman in black that's supposedly back in the 1800s.
You don't get the woman in black very much.
No, but back in the 1800s, the legend was that she appeared ahead of the patient's deaths, like you said, she appeared before they would die. But this was something different, and the boy's grandfather is just so happy about it, and he was like, she's like a guardian angel, and apparently people at the hospital are very well aware of this spirit. So
very cool. Very, very cool.
Cool story. And you can't see the picture in the article. It's kind of a cool picture. I mean, I'm assuming it's real. I'm not going to say that I
don't get serious about very many things, but mental asylums, that one's I don't like it.
Right.
I think there's a lot over the years that's a lot of pain and tragedy.
Yes.
That unnecessarily. So
there you go. That was the news.
Yeah, thank you. Very good.
Well, you're welcome. I didn't mean to end it on such a sour note. Normally I try to end with a happy thing, but
Well, it's better than clowns.
I didn't bring any clowns this time.
A lot of times on the third side, we make light of certain stories and we joke around.
We do. We also, a little bit.
Just a little bit. We also have our serious things.
Yes.
And when it's called for, we will be serious about it. We had a lot of feedback off John and Stacey's top 5.
From the Halloween episode.
Yeah, from the Halloween episode of top 5
creepiest things that ever happened to us.
That we can talk about on TV.
That we can talk about on TV, right.
You always got to remember the footnote.
Yes.
So out of that, there's a lot of things, and ever since our first preview video, which if you haven't seen it, you need to,
It's on the channel.
It's on the channel. You need to hunt that down and watch it. When we talk about Abbott Studios a little bit, this place is a conductor, really, in itself. And there's a lot more stuff that's going to come out about Abbott Studios in the future, and our relationship with the studio, my relationship with the studio, experiments that we're doing with, on these grounds. And they're all very important to us, and very important to everybody involved. Stacey, because of some of the popularity of John and Stacey's top 5, and like we talked about earlier on the show, we've made so many friends from doing the shows.
Yes.
And we feel a personal connection with most of them, and if not all of them. And we've always put ourselves right there on the, right, this is us. If you hang out with us in a car,
it's the same thing.
It's the same exact thing.
Yes.
There's no putting on there.
Right.
But Stacey had wanted to talk about something personal, and in doing so, it's going to be kind of an outing of sorts for me. But I'll let you take the helm. She wanted to tell a cool story, a cool personal story.
I did. And like you said, we got a lot of feedback from the other personal stuff that we talked about. And so I just thought it would be neat if we shared some personal experiences that we have, because as paranormal investigators, things happen to you. I mean, anybody that is in this line of work, I'll just say it like that, things happen to you. Your life is not a normal life normally.
No, it's not. And from
strange things happen.
And from time to time, we want to start sharing some of those things with you guys. And, like I said about Advent Studios, it's got a place. It's a place that will amplify, if you will, some of these emotions of wanting to share them. And
True.
Obviously you walk into a very cool, looking den and cave and everything Gothic and, just screaming to amplify everything. And go ahead with your story.
Well, anyway, this is just a really cool personal thing that happened to us. And definitely I wanted to share. I've never told this story to anyone. So I wanted our
never thought we would
viewers and listeners to be the first to hear the story. Now, before I tell the story, I have to give a little backstory about us, about John. John has a gift. He is actually a psychic medium, and that's not something that we advertise. It's not something he advertises. We don't, use that as in our investigating, really. I mean, it's a tool, but it's not something that we rely on for evidence and things like that.
I'm not going to have my name on Facebook say
psychic medium.
Yeah,
John Edwards. Although that would be
not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. Your name is awfully close to a psychic medium,
it really
though.
Is, huh? Even though it's not his real name.
I know.
I'm not, and I've never wanted to use it. And that's one reason I've never wanted to bring any of this up.
Right.
Is because I don't want it to screw up my evidence. I don't want it to, be a defining part, even though it probably will be. I don't want it to be what defines me. I've always said that to Stacey in the background. And, we've dealt this. And some of our closest friends, psychic medium, Serena Gordon. Mm-hmm. She's, she's
a great investigator, too. And she's like us, if you have evidence, you have evidence. You don't rely on the psychic part to be your evidence. But that's not really part of this story. I'm just giving backstory, and I'm not going to tell a whole story about how he got his gift. And I mean, he's not a kind of person that's been psychic since he was born or anything like that. That's another story for another time. It's a long story for another time. But it's important that you know.
The book is coming.
It's important that you know that this story does have to do with something that happened with his gift. So we just wanted to put that out there for anyone that didn't know.
And if you ask me for lottery numbers, now that you've heard this, I will drive to your house. and I will bring the clown with me. And,
No, you won't.
No.
Because that means you have to be in the car with the clown.
I would have to be in the car with the clown.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so on to the story.
Yes, ma'am.
Did we give enough backstory? Do you think that was sufficient?
If you throw a ball around in the backyard and you do it every day, you're going to get really good at throwing the ball.
Right.
Eventually.
Right.
If you're around other people, in the paranormal field, like you said, your sensitivity's heightened.
It is.
That wasn't this. I was always intuitive. I was always a bit empathic. I could never been able to go to a funeral home my whole life. Even earlier in our marriage, I couldn't go to a funeral home with Stacey. It was really important that I went on a specific time or a funeral. Mm-hmm. I got sick and I couldn't breathe, and it was the sadness of everybody else.
Right.
On investigations for years and years and years, my fellow investigators would be the first to stand up and tell you they hated the fact that I would tell them what I was hearing, and then we would hear back on the recorders exactly what I said happened, exactly what I said I was hearing. Anybody who has ever seen our Kingsport Grocery episode of Haunted South that we used to do.
Right. It did happen on there several times.
I'm doing a live boom mic way before that was done on other shows. A live boom mic with the gain turned up because it's really good for live communication in the elevator shaft where a man had died. And I'm hearing things, and initially no one else is hearing it in the room, but it's captured on EVP live.
Right.
That's kind of what happens, except there's a person that relays the messages.
Right.
And, Serena Gordon, it's a great story. And like I said, we will go into that definitely in written form. And,
Right.
it'll never be the main emphasis, but this is very
for the
cool.
purposes of this story, just so you know, John gets messages from the other side. Sometimes he gets dates, and sometimes it turns out to be something cool, like what we got this time. So let me tell my story of our personal experience. Okay, so this actually started a few years ago, and this was right after John had first gotten his gift. We still really didn't understand how it worked, and it was still really new. So it kind of freaked us out a little bit. But as someone who lives with someone who is a psychic, I am not psychic. I do love puzzles, though. I've always loved puzzles. So I'm the one that when he gets his information and his cryptic clues, I take that and I try to make it understand it. Right. I love that. So we're kind of perfect for each other, I suppose.
Yeah.
No, anyway, so we are at our house one night, and John starts getting a communication, and it's a woman, spirit of a woman, and we had no idea who she was. And, sometimes when anybody that is a psychic or has dealt with psychics knows that the information doesn't come in full sentences, straight and clear. It's very cryptic. Sometimes it's pictures, sometimes it's clues, things like that. Right. You really have to try and figure it out. And so he was getting a message from a woman, and she just kept saying, they're looking at me. I don't like it when they look at me, and she wanted help. She wanted us to help her. And we didn't really understand what that meant. And he didn't get anything about who she was. I think that you got the name Mary.
Right.
And it had something to do with people looking at her, and you got that it was Yorkshire. And I think those were the only clues that we really had. And so I took all the information that we got from that communication, and I started doing some research. And we found out that in Yorkshire, England, there was a story way back in the day, and I'm sorry I don't have the year, about Mary Bateman, who they call the Yorkshire Witch. And her story is fascinating. Yeah. And if you read about her, she was a woman that got accused of being a witch. Obviously, she was killed. Now, I don't know if her story is if she really did these things or if she is being falsely accused. I'll actually put a link up with the news stories to her story that's on a website. I don't know if the story is true or not. There's a lot of speculation about stuff that she did. Mm-hmm. And in the end, she supposedly poisoned a woman. Right. And they dubbed her the Yorkshire Witch, and that's what got her into trouble. And even in the end, when she was in prison, she did admit to some of the falsifying things that she did, but she never admitted that she killed that woman. Yeah. So I don't know.
Husband.
But the interesting thing about this communication that John got is she kept saying, they're looking at me, and I don't want them to look at me. Please help me. And I found out through my research that her skeleton is on display in a museum in Leeds. It's called Thackeray Medical Museum. You can go there today. And they have her skeleton, and it's not the whole skeleton, it's like the top half. It is on display. People can go there and look at it. Now, we didn't know anything about the story, nothing about Mary Bateman, the Yorkshire Witch, the museum, nothing. I found all that out after he got that communication, and I did some research on it. And so I thought, well, I don't know how I'm going to help this woman. We really wanted to help her, but, it wasn't anything that we could do.
It was so weird because it was from freaking England.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like,
it wasn't like down the street.
Right. And whatever that correlation was between us and that, you would think there'd be some connection there.
Right, but there wasn't really. But we talked about it, and I said, well, I'll see if we can find a way to help her. Right. So time went on, and there wasn't really anything I could do, and it kind of just got pushed to the wayside, like everything else, in life in general. And we sort of forgot about it because I went as far as I thought that I could with it, and then I didn't know what else to do. And I mean, still, like I said, this whole psychic thing was new, and I wasn't comfortable with just emailing someone and saying, "Hey."
And to be fair, it was nonstop information. I mean, it was just and I hide it from everything from everybody.
Right. So anyway, so let's move on. I think it was almost 2 years.
2 years.
2 years. And we're living in a new house. And John's, getting better with his gift. And occasionally he gets dates. And they're not dates and information, just this day, something's going to happen on this day, or this day is important, or watch out on this day, that sort of thing. So he got the day January 14th. And this was actually January 14th of this year. Yes, January 14th of 2014, I think, was the date that you got. You got January 14th. I didn't get a year. He just said January 14th. And he said there's something about January 14th. And it was almost January 14th. So we were like, well, we don't know anything about that day. It's not special to us. Nothing happens. So we'll just have to wait until January 14th and see what happens. Maybe something good's going to happen. Maybe something terrible is going to happen. We don't know. So it got to that day. This was a couple weeks ahead of that. So it got to be January 14th, and it was a normal day. John got up. He went to work. Nothing unusual. I was at the house. Nothing unusual. Just our normal everyday lives. He came home for lunch, and we were sitting in our bedroom. And in our bedroom, we have the bed and the TV, and we have a chair. My favorite chair. I love it. It rocks. It's so comfortable. Anyway, so he comes home for lunch. He's sitting on the bed, and I'm sitting in the chair, and he mentions that it's January 14th, and I was like, well, yeah, you got that day. Has anything strange happened? And he said, no, nothing. He's like, has anything weird happened here? And I was like, well, no. And he said, what about the kids? Are all the kids okay? And I was like, well, yeah, I think everybody's fine. Nothing's going on. And so we were just sort of talking back and forth about different things. And in our bedroom, we have a bookcase with all of our paranormal books on it. Well, not all of them, but just the ones we keep out for reference. And
the ones we can show on TV.
Yeah, the ones we can show on TV. And we need a much bigger bookcase. Let's just say that. We've got a bunch of them in boxes. We need more bookcases. But anyway, so as we're talking, John all of a sudden just goes, did you see that? And I was like, no. What did you see? He said, I just saw a huge bright white orb in our bookcase. And so I went over to the bookcase and I was like, well, where did you see it? And he said, down there. And so I put my hand down and he's like, no, over more, and I was moving my hand around. And I finally got to this one book. He said, right there, that is the book. And so I pulled it out, and it was a book called A Ghost a Day, which is just a book that has every single day of the year, there's a different story, different ghost story, different whatever.
Right.
And I actually like that book. I look at it a lot. I think it's really interesting, the stories and things. And so I was like, well, that's weird. Why would you see an orb over this book?
And from where I was at, I couldn't see
what book it was. Right. I had to go to the bookcase and look.
And it was weird.
And so I said, well, let's just look in the book. I was like, let's look at today's date.
That was all her.
It hadn't clicked yet that it was January 14th. I said, let's just look at today's date just to be fun. And then I was like, oh, wait, January 14th, we were just talking about it. I was like, maybe this is what we need to look at. So I flipped to January 14th, and it is a story that was set in Yorkshire, England. And it wasn't anything about the Yorkshire witch, but it was Yorkshire. And I was like, there's a story here from Yorkshire. I was like, I don't understand. At first, I didn't understand. And so we just sat there for a minute, and I thought about it. And it was like, just like it clicked. I was like, oh my God, Yorkshire, because of the Yorkshire witch, because Mary Bateman, we never did anything about that.
We were supposed to help.
And it was like, as soon as we figured it out, it was like, yes, that's exactly what this is. So I actually had to start looking into it again. Because it was just an amazing thing that happened that it was such a weird sequence of events. And so I actually did look into it again, and I actually have emailed some people. I've been trying to get more information just on Mary Bateman's life, and there is a book that I have to order to read about. But, honestly, I have tried everything. I cannot find anybody that knows, like any kind of historian or anything. And like I said, this is in England. I'm trying to email to England different people that I can find online that might know something about her history or anything. So the only thing I have left to do is to actually contact the museum. And there's not anything I can do about them having that display. Obviously. But we did promise that we would help. So I am actually going to email the museum and just tell them the whole story and just say, look, she's upset that people are going through this museum and looking at her schedule. Her skeleton.
Still yet, I don't know what the correlation would be.
I don't either.
Unless it's,
But it's a cool story the way it all happened, because we did get the information at first and then we kind of forgot about it. And she was just like, hey,
Yeah.
And she let us know in a really cool way.
Yeah, and some of the stuff's been really cool. I mean, like, there's some really awesome stories that we could tell, but we're not going to. So there you go, a cool story, a private story,
Yes.
and very private.
Yes, and if you happen to live in England and you know anything about this museum, which I think is actually haunted, the museum is an old hospital.
Oh, is that the case?
Yeah, it's a medical museum. It used to be an old hospital, and it's supposedly a really cool place, and they even have one whole hallway that is made to look like a street in Victorian England.
Now that's awesome.
And that hallway that's done on used to be the psychiatric ward, which was a poor choice, I think, to build that on. But supposedly that museum is haunted, and I think there have been teams in England that have actually investigated it, or they do investigations, like you can pay to do the investigation with them, or something like that. But like I said, I haven't been able to get a hold of anybody
That's
yet.
awesome. Oh, I didn't know that.
But I'm still looking into it because we did promise we would help, and even if I can't do anything about it, I'm still going to make that effort.
If you can't
because
be an
that's
athlete,
what we said.
be an athletic supporter.
Yes. But that's our personal experience of something that happened to us. The kinds of things that happen at our house pretty frequently.
Every day.
Yeah, we always have stuff like that.
Things, I mean, voices, lights. Yeah, it's
Odd stuff.
It's just an everyday thing. And really talk about the atmosphere being conducive to this type of stuff behind the camera. Behind the camera, Justin, our producer, is, he's got a gambit of psychic activity.
Yes.
And he also has helped other people for years, discover, what they have, and like me, I mean, for a long time, I had a ball bat, and it said shenanigans on it, and I just would bat people off teams, and it was so. I mean, that's always been my take on it. I've always felt that in paranormal research that there needs to be a separation,
Right.
and there needs to be hard evidence,
Right.
with scientific method.
Right. Well, we do keep it separated.
And then there is the metaphysical type
Right.
of investigation. They can go together,
Well, we do both.
but if using metaphysical, you need to have that hard backing evidence. You need to have the temperature changes, the energy spikes, the EVPs to go along with the metaphysical.
Right. And you can have both.
Right.
You can.
You can. We've done it for years privately.
Yeah.
And
Right.
every investigation, we've relied more on the metaphysical than what we've said.
Well, to at least know where to investigate
Exactly.
and what to try and catch and that sort of thing. And, that's what makes it successful.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So, but cool story, a little insight to our personal lives that we deal with every day.
Yeah.
So,
Peeking in.
it's cool being us.
Peeking in. All right. Well, thank you, Stacey.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we had a unusual show.
Unusual, yes.
I mean, it started out pretty raunchy, and it got
Worse,
worse. And I blame you.
of course.
I mean, it's your fault.
Of course.
You are smoking hot. You are.
Guilty.
I mean, you are like, if we had statues of you in antiquity, there would be people with their hands on your breastises, and praying to.
So somehow the show's not getting any better.
I'm just saying, fertility goddess.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
I mean, almost every culture had a fertility goddess. You're mine.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, let's just move on.
All right. So hopefully that got edited out of the show. Facebook.com/ThirdSide. That's the funnest way to get a hold of us.
Again, with the funnest.
Funnest. At 3SidePara, the number 3 on Twitter. And our website, thirdsideparanormal.com. Now, we've got some blockbuster interviews coming up for you guys with actual guests and not just guests, but blockbuster guests. Block W Buster will be our guest. And we've really had a fun show. This one might get filed under PG-13, just so you know. But, tell a friend, and, if you like us. If you don't, tell an enemy, as I always say. And For my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John, and so long from the third side.
Good night.